Alright, so for this first tutorial behind the scene, I was thinking about talking about buildings because it's I think a good way to introduce customization because we have not all the UV map, these kind of things can be still very simple, but the principle is quite the same for most of the process. And in this Machinima, as you may have noticed, there is a lot of buildings that don't exist in WoW that are all craft, so thank you. Can start with this. First thing, when you anticipate to create a building, and this applies also for character, you need to work on the design, and I think it's easier to start with some concept art, etc. Usually in my case, I like to work with reference. Gather all my reference on my Canva on Krita, and usually work from that. And of course, I already have a good idea of how the building may look like. But still, you need to anticipate a lot of things. You need to anticipate the object that will be here. Depending on the camera angle, you don't want the background to look too empty. You really want your building to look alive. And when you grab directly the model from WoW, you already have everything pre-made for this purpose. And when you start from scratch, you really need to think about the storytelling, what you want to say with your building, with the way it's all combined together. So that's the first challenge. So once I have all my reference, then I start creating the buildings, and to do so, I start with a cube, the default cube from Blender. It's great. And then just starting with these and try to arrange everything in a way that may work, that may look what I want. Of course, sometimes the shape changes. So first, usually you have like something like a very draft skeleton and how it may look, and sometimes with just a few colors. And one thing that I'm trying to do is to keep the things a bit organized. So for instance, the wall are globally duplicated plane or cubes that are globally linked together. So if I change the texture later on one, it will apply for the others. And same for the beams, you see, like the rectangular, vertical parts of the roof, etc. Same as well. All this will turn into wood, like a dark blue wood, so they are all the same texture. And of course, once you have your bone of your building, then you start placing inside as much as object as you think about before starting the rendering. It's better. And that's at this time that I start working on the tatami mat. First I was a bit stressed about it, and then it ran pretty smoothly actually, because I used a tutorial online and I was able to create like the wall texture as a procedural node. So it means that I globally program the texture using all the SDF and the very, very small modifier texture. Then it's a lot about adjusting the texture, because I work mostly with procedural node. What I show for the tatami is globally how I work most of my texture in the buildings, because I don't want something that is too much detailed, and it's also for buildings that I will barely use again. So, and it's not for a game, it's just for a movie, so it's okay that not everything is super detailed. So procedural node works perfectly well here, and then there's a lot of try and retry to make sure that everything works good together, that there is good contrast, and that once you add the shading and shaders and the light, that it looks good. The challenge when you do a Machinima like I do is to keep the right balance between realism, like 3D rendering, and anime cartoonish style. You don't want something that is just realistic texture on cartoonish models that look not that good. So finding the right balance for the texture, the light is very critical. So this part can take a lot of time, even more than the sculpting itself. And what I say here for the dojo apply to all the other scene, at least all the interior scene. Like for instance, when we are inside To's house, globally this scene was globally of course the opposite, because the scene is very small, very dark, there is not that much light, and I want even this to be worse, but I think it was the worst I can do at this time. So very very old building, like it's almost destroyed, and the door is you see it's like just a wooden. It's not even a real wooden door. You see that it's something that's placed on the door, a random thing that works as a door. There's few paintings, and really that's it. The main part of the building was actually to have this altar that is very specific to Chinese house. You have usually the altar of your ancestors, so that was probably the main part of the house, of a room that serves as a house for To. And then he also has a table, and what you cannot see, that he has also something to cook, but that's globally it. And there's usually a first floor, but it's completely destroyed at this time, so I even didn't want you to see it. So globally, yeah, that was it. And To's house, same as well. I have some sketch. I try to check for some reference for Chinese house as well, but most likely I already have an idea on how this house may look. So that one was pretty easy to do. So yeah. So for the inner parts of the buildings, I think that's globally it. So at the end of the episode, we can notice that To has a dojo. Of course, Mei paid for this dojo, so Zuen can practice Kung Fu under good condition. I already had a good idea on how this dojo looked like, so the sketch was very easy and there is not that much reference for it, because it's really part of the roleplay of my character, Jish. So yeah, basically it was pretty easy to do. I just want to keep the contrast with dojo, with Hanso's dojo. So that's why it's something that is more packed, red, golden, and it's not like very, I would say, the external is very simple, you say. So, but other than that, yeah, this one was pretty easy to do. It's the first time I used my super technique of a cookie cutter. That saved me sometimes when I was doing like the dragon figure that we can see on the patio and balcony. So yeah, this one was quite easy to do, actually. Alright, so I think that for the work on the building itself, I'm done for today. If you have any question about any aspect that I developed here, just let me know and I will be happy to answer any question. We try to share new tutorials, probably for some small things that I use when I craft maybe a model, and also maybe showing an example of customization or model preparation. We will see, depending on what you consider it may be interesting. Alright, thanks so much for watching. See you next time. Bye.